Does this thing still work? Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay, we're live. Hello, everyone. We are back. I'm joined today by my dear friend Christo to talk a little bit about some design decisions. We're rethinking some of the existing projects that reached kind of a critical mass when it comes to developing software. Mainly, we're talking about some of the libraries that kind of surpassed like 250,000 downloads, and we're thinking about redesigning them, rethinking them. It's really important for a lot of people to understand that when you're developing software, it's not always one and done. You still have, it's just like your room. You have to come back, you have to clean it, you have to organize it, you have to maintain it, you have to make sure that it is up to date in terms of security, standard compliance, design patterns, and all that good stuff. And when you're redesigning these things, you're giving other people a chance, an opportunity to kind of jump in with you, be able to participate and help out. But more importantly, the people that are consuming this library can trust that you're doing the right thing for them and you're helping them kind of rely on your work to be able to do their work too. So, Christo, how are you?
Hi, hello. I'm well, thank you.
It's good to see
Uh,
you.
yeah, it's been a while.
It's been quite a bit, you know. It's been almost 3 months or something like that, maybe a little bit more. Feels like a lot. Feels like a long time ago. Um, So what is this RESTful Sense library and why are we redesigning it? What's this all about?
So, RESTful Sense is a library wrapper around the HTTP client,
Uh-huh.
and the purpose of that is to give us some meaningful exceptions, and ease integration for us. Yeah, it's expanded quite a lot over the last year.
Hmm.
We needed a lot of extra functionality when you guys tackled the standard .ai, .openai.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
there's been a lot of things there, but yeah, as the library has been designed so far ago, um, I think it's a good time to um, rewrite it in a standard compliant way.
So this library here, I feel like that link doesn't take us to that's why that makes a lot of sense. Maybe I should talk to Greg to help us update that part. But RESTful Sense, like as I'm seeing it in here, it has two implementation. It seems like it has two different implementations, and one of them is uh, for the server side, and one of them is the one that Brian Parker built. So people who are building Blazor applications could basically take advantage of this library, not have to rewrite anything new, not have to to do anything different. Use the exact same library to write mobile applications. Like if you're building Maui Blazor hybrid application, this library comes in very handy because Maui Blazor hybrid is actually running WASM internally.
Mm.
So RESTful Sense itself won't work, but RESTful Sense with assembly would help a lot. And I'm going to try to do some sessions. Now that you've made me turn on the camera and put on the microphone, they say don't give a priest a microphone. That's a problem, or a preacher a microphone. They're never going to stop. So anyway, so RESTful Sense, I see a lot of downloads on it. Well, it's not 250,000, but it's getting there. It's going to get there very, very fast. Okay, so we want to make this library stand compliant, but why would I use this library, Christo, when I could just use something else? Like, why don't I just write my own HTTP client? What kind of value does this library even give us in the first place?
It gives us the meaningful exceptions. Uh, it exposed the exceptions that we've added via exceptions. That detail is exposed quite nicely, um, and it's just easy integration.
It's much
Um,
easier integration,
yeah.
right? I think the exception part is also very important here because people have to go and check for the code. Like when you're calling an API endpoint, I see a lot of people have to go and say if HTTP status dot code equals 400, then do something else. This library basically takes these codes and actually gives you meaningful exceptions. And I think that was the main reason behind naming it RESTful Sense. It makes API communication make sense.
Yeah.
That's all that it is. I see a message here from Nazir says, Hassan, finally back. This thing made my month now. So happy to see you people back here. See, Christo, people really love to, they know you're the stuff. So like I said, finally live. Yeah, like I said, thank you guys, I appreciate it. Um, okay, right. So we're gonna rewrite a library from the ground up, right? This is a very interesting project because a lot of people, once something is written, they just keep piling on more, which is pretty
Mm.
much what Monk and I have been doing in the last couple of weeks, which has been adding stuff to it. So it does it a lot of in a lot of teams and a lot of places, people will be like, why would the system is already written. Let's just pile on top of what was already there instead of rewriting it. I think rewriting takes a lot of courage. It's a tough decision for people to make, but we're gonna rewrite this library. So let's just think about this. It's the difficult part about most of these things is to be able to detach from how the library was designed in the first place and truly put something innovative in there, I think. So how are we gonna do this? What's important to us in a RESTful API library to you? I know that there is some HTTP client somewhere that we need to
Yeah,
talk to. So that HTTP client, I'm assuming, will be like a broker. Just
yeah,
an idea. So maybe HTTP broker. Okay, so that's one part. And then maybe, so in front of this one, it will be like your HTTP service. Great. So you have an HTTP service and you have this broker, right? And this HTTP service, I'm assuming we need something in here. I don't know what that something is yet. This something needs to basically be something that knows how to map and convert status codes to exceptions.
yeah,
Is this is this okay? So maybe this would be HTTP code mapper or HTTP mapper service, or let's just call it a mapper service. Error mapper service, because this is a library. The things that we don't think too much of as like a domain level, at the library level, they are the domain. They are the main thing. So, okay, so there's that. So you have a service, an error mapper service, and I'm assuming there will be something setting up in here called HTTP orchestration service. And this HTTP orchestration service will basically go and make the call and then map the errors.
yeah,
But then maybe you want to add also another service in here called serialization.
yeah,
So serialization service. And this serialization service will inject, that goes back to what Monk was talking about earlier. So if you can inject something that complies with iSerialization broker, and he's going to have to kind of define
mm,
that. He's going to have to tell us, what would that basically look like?
yeah. So you're basically mapping out the server components at the moment.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I think in our exposure on the controller, we can maybe add an attribute or something that can pull the serialization settings from startup CS.
Yes. So there will be, yeah. So there will be some, like we did with the Open AI, basically there will be some startup CS or program CS that basically injects all of these things, right? So it will be, so the serialization then, Krista, will be in the setup itself.
Yeah.
Ah, that makes sense. Okay, let's put
I
that.
think I think on the client it's easy because uh, the piece of work that Monk did was quite nice on the client because you hand off that responsibility to the consumer to do
Mhm.
the serialization. But for uh, uh, RESTful controller, it's a little bit different, and you need to rely on your startup settings.
This design just got me curious. Just out of curiosity, I wonder if HTTP client is not the only way to fire an API connection in the .NET world, because that's the one I've seen everyone does, but I've never seen anyone use something else, right? So this is something for people to think about, right? There's Zafar. Hi, Zafar. Welcome, Sam. Thank you. So yeah, I wonder, like, you know how we kind of took it on as de facto. If you want to make an API call, you just create HTTP client.
Yeah,
I wonder if that's the only option,
I
right?
don't know. You got me
Yeah,
there.
that's just an idea that came to mind.
Mm.
But then again, that the reason why I'm asking here is that I wonder if this should be iHTTP broker, and if people want to inject their own kind of .NET library that complies with a certain interface. And you see why I'm doing this. I'm kind of leaning towards a SPAL, like if your provider is something else, as long as it adheres and implements
Mm.
that interface, then I have no problem. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah.
So, and then the error mapper service, that will be a did end service. And thank you so very much for solving that problem, if you know what I mean. The internal
Yeah.
mock problem. That's actually a how did you even, like, where did that come from? Like, this it just came from up above. How did you even come up with that solution? I think it's brilliant.
Mm.
Don't get me wrong. I just didn't think of it this way.
Yeah, I have a few dead end services at work and had to get past the problem. And then um, I think I cheated in the beginning a little bit by adding a log nothing to the logging broker because we've got logging in all our services.
Mm,
But it didn't look elegant. Um, and then, yeah, it was basically just spending an evening looking for an alternative. So,
yeah,
yeah, and then I found out that you can do partial mocking with mock, and yeah, that was an easy answer, and it was familiar.
I
I
love
think
it.
was
I love it, dude. I'd like, especially the fact that we can kind of give people the idea of, like, when we talk about theories and ideas in the standard, we can materialize it into real life working applications. And I think this is a great example of that. It's exactly a great example of that. Okay, Nazir says, Hassan, why are we redesigning the existing one, and is it going to have a long-term support? Yeah, so we have to maintain our software. Like right now, RESTfulsense is not fully standard compliant, right? So we need to make sure we bring it up to speed to 2.10 standard version. And why redesigning it? Because you need to maintain things. Is it going to have long-term support, Christo? What do you think? Should. I
yeah,
think
it should
most of our
definitely
stuff
have.
are. Uh,
I think we'll aim for supporting all the frameworks that Microsoft actively supports. So I'm thinking Net Standard 2 and then .NET 8 up.
yeah, yeah, I agree. Sounds good to me. Okay, so HTTP orchestration, just remember, like, RESTful Sense also does stuff on the controller side, not the client side. And I don't know if we need to split that. Like, on the controller side, it offers functions that emits errors that the .NET framework out of the box doesn't do. Like when you basically emit like too many requests exception, that doesn't exist out of the box when you inherit a controller. So there's still this RESTful controller that you have to inherit from. But it's a whole different capability. Like, that's a whole different thing that we need to be aware of. Um, but for the time being, this looks like all we need: a part where you make the call, a part where you serialize the returned value, and a part where you basically map the errors. What do you think?
Yeah,
So if we start from there, then maybe we're just gonna add like a client on top of it, which is basically your, I don't know, RESTful Sense client. That would be basically
uh,
your, hmm,
yeah, would that not be your RESTful Sense controller?
a controller.
Yeah, for that flow that we've mapped out there, that is that not the um,
No, that's a
oh yes,
consumer.
yeah, sorry, yeah.
Okay, so that's the client. So basically, you have a person that is consuming through the client, sending an API call.
But is our diagram correct then? Because in the client, do we have an error mapper and service that's already a meaningful exception that you're giving back from a RESTful controller point of view?
Well, this is not the controller. This
No, no.
is,
So that's why I'm questioning: do we have an error mapper service in in that?
isn't it this one? Error mapper.
But will there be any error mapping because you've already received it in a so a RESTful client only gives us easy REST operations and integration. It doesn't
Right.
really. I don't think the client map anything.
Ah, well, if it does just easy integrations.
Yeah. So when I looked at this first, I thought immediately that's the flow for a RESTful controller.
Mhm. I mean internally in the library
Mm,
itself, in the library itself, the library basically offers easy integration, that's the service, and then error mapping and serialization. So look, Christo, if you are like your customer will basically be exposed to this RESTful client, and the rest of this is hidden behind the scenes, right? And your customer would be what you would call a broker.
yeah.
And that broker, like imagine you have some system, and this some system that wants to talk to another system. So that system's broker will use that client to be able to go and communicate with another system in here through that HTTP broker,
Yeah.
another system. Or this would be like the consumer system, and this is here the provider system. Now here's the tricky part though. RESTful Sense, as it stands today, it does something wild with the error details. There's no other library that does that. If you put error details, it will map that. It will your exception data will turn into error details as
Yeah.
it's traveling over the wire, and we have to kind of um, basically account for that when it comes to this piece, right? Will this be part of the error mapper service? Probably, very likely. Do we need processing layer on top of that? Probably. Probably we need a processing service on top of that. I don't know yet. I don't know if that answers your question though. I'm not sure. Um, does this does this address this question that you have about the controller? Because the controller side is a completely different side of this library.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's the consumer side.
We'll have to
Mhm.
do both.
We'll have to do both, absolutely.
Mm,
This is just the consumer side. This is just the person that says,
mm,
I want to consume consumer side, consume RESTful APIs. Because we're rewriting a system, we might find ourselves in a situation where people are using legacy RESTful sense on the controller side for the provider system, but using the new RESTful sense on the consumer side because the provider side is not ready yet.
yeah.
It'll be annoying because sometimes the provider is a consumer. Like you are exposing an API endpoint, but you're also consuming from another API endpoint. It'll be a little annoying for a while, but it's totally worth the effort. I'm
Yeah.
fully on board with that. Let's see if we have any questions. Is this somewhat similar to REST Sharp, or there will be new handling techniques? To be honest, I find REST Sharp hard to understand, even though it's easy for most people. I haven't tried REST Sharp, but I know of it. I don't know what REST Sharp does with exceptions, Nazir. Like if you get a 400, 405 exception, do you actually get a meaningful, strongly typed exception? That's number one. Does it turn your exception data into error details? That's number two. Does it allow your controller to have all the RESTful API codes, at least the one that's are standardized, by the IETF, Internet Force something, something or other, that kind of group. So that's a good part in there. Okay, Christo, do you want what? So, okay, do you have any thoughts about at least this architecture, this low-level architecture? We're gonna make the call. If the call fails, I intentionally put the error mapper before the serialization because if there is an error, it will happen before the serialization, but never get an error after you get the result.
Yeah. No, that's fine. Yeah.
So 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 you make the call, you error map, you serialize. And this time we're gonna have to be aware because the error mapper, like I think RESTful Sense only handles HTTP response. I think we should also handle HTTP request.
Yeah.
That's something that someone brought it up to me recently, and that's the crux of it. This is the actual deal. Okay, I heard we have a repo for this project. Is that true?
Yeah. We've created a repo in the new standard organization.
Yeah. So just for people kind of following our community, we have a new organization called the Standard Organization. And this standard organization is basically where we're planning to, please don't worry about the face. I'm trying to find
Mm,
a logo for us. Uh, but this is standard.restfulsense, and we're probably gonna use STX as a
right.
prefix because standard is way overloaded. Like a lot of people are using the word standard. So we're
Yeah.
using STX to be cool and hip and fun. Um, but
So I think
also
it's right at the top. Asan is we've created that. Uh, yeah,
this one
the
here.
second one. Yeah.
Nice. STX RESTful sense. There it is. So basically, Christo went and made all the pieces for acceptance unit, and thank you for doing this. The acceptance part is the part where I was just talking to Greg about the other day, and I was saying we need to use WireMock to pretend that there is an API, and then try to kind of emit, errors and see what actually happens. Um, we could start kind of uh, writing some issues in here. So this is brokers develop HTTP broker, right? And the HTTP broker will be um, so get HTTP broker. I don't know how many are in there, honestly. Like I know there is a lot. Post HTTP broker. This is the post content. I think there is put content.
Yeah. Put delete.
Put HTTP broker. So here's another one. And we also have
Delete.
brokers. Delete, right? Delete HTTP broker. By the way, just so you know, like these CRUD operations, semi-CRUD operations on the RESTful side, they're not exclusive. Like I created my own the other day. You could actually create a custom one, and you could go in Postman and put your own. Like I could have, instead of post API, I could have Christo API, like
Mm,
Christo as a HTTP verb, right? And they're meant to be extensible, and there's actually a big usage for it. Like, let me ask you this, Christo: how do you expose upsert through a RESTful API? Is
yeah.
that a post or a put? It's neither. It's both, actually.
Yeah.
So anyway, so I know that we have delete, put, post, get, and I know on the original RESTful sense there was a lot more than that. So I think there is get string, and let's see, let's find out. That would be on the client side. Yeah, so there's get content. Okay, that's the get it. Get content string and get
Mm,
content stream. What
yeah.
are we walking ourselves into? So this is get string IHTTP HTTP client, and I think there is brokers get stream IHTTP client. What else do we have in there? We have the stream post content with no response. And I think this might be a serialization thing. I don't know. Because you're working with a client that also tries to do its own serialization on its own.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. Monk added this guy in here, like a serialization function or handler,
Yeah,
right?
that makes sense to replace the behavior.
Okay.
Um,
So I don't know, did we actually do anything special in the implementation, or did we just post and ignore? We didn't try to serialize anything. Like if you look at,
if there is a return type, then there is some serialization to it. But I think that method you looked at now is if you just do a post, but you don't expect any data back.
there is, look, HTTP response, but we just validated it. There will always be a response,
Mm.
right? But the
But
problem the
but I
problem here is that we don't try to serialize.
yeah
So that's not at this level. Then the HTTP broker will always return an HTTP response message or whatever we decide that interface needs to be. Like we could abstract it away behind something, whatever that something is.
yeah
Let's see what Zafar says. He says, will this all be rewritten in one stream, or will it be divided into several parts? What do you think? Do you think we can rewrite? Like, what do you think, Christo? Are you not doing anything for the next 20 days straight? So Zafar,
yeah
this is a huge project, right? And I talked to Christo about this yesterday, and I think it was yesterday. I said, we're gonna try to let people kind of take some tasks that we've already streamed something similar to. So it's not always going to have to be streamed, but I'd love to have like a regular session at least once or twice a week where we just sit down and explain to people and talk to people about their questions and whatnot. That would be that would be nice. I want people to understand like these streams are not just about the project that is being done. It's really a podcast. We're talking about all kinds of things because I'm never sticking to one topic. And at the same time, I'm kind of helping people like a forum for people to ask questions live as they're learning about certain techniques. In my book, Christo is the equivalent of a principal software engineer. So if that experience is really useful, right? Especially that the actual principal software engineers in actual companies never have time for you. I'm talking to the juniors in there. You'll be like, I don't have time for your questions. Just go somewhere else and do something. Well, this is a stream for you to ask these questions, and hopefully it'll be useful for everybody. It's a good question to offer. So content. So without response, post content, async, post content with stream response. Interesting. So you're posting something and you're getting something else. That also sounds like serialization. Post content async. Actually, let me go back to the interface. It's much easier this way. Put content, and then delete content async. Yeah, so I think we covered these issues. So you have get stream, get string, delete, put, post, and get. I think this whole get string and get stream thing, if we're getting an HTTP response message, we wouldn't need to worry about unless there's a native function in the client itself that says, oh, I got it as a string. And that's different.
mm.
What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, that looks good. I think we need to look at all the method signatures. I think
On
we
the
added
HTTP client?
yeah, I think we extended it so much. I think over time we added cancellation tokens. We've added the serialization that Monk did.
Yep.
So
Yes, we did. This is the HTTP client right here. These are all the methods that it basically has. Let's open the file actually. So it's working on iWeb proxy. See, I told you there's something underneath. iWeb proxy underneath. There's some time span. Um, yeah, get string async core. I'm assuming this is a private. Yeah, it is a private. Yeah, I know that language. Get byte array. We never ever expose that. So are you saying the plan is to implement every And I'm okay with that, by the way, just to understand. But you're saying the plan is to basically implement whatever um, capabilities that this function is offer or this class is offering. Wrap it up, basically.
Yeah, we could. I think we just need to look that we're consistent with where we added cancellation tokens and custom serialization and exactly what we want to support. I don't even,
Gotcha.
I don't know. Are we going to support uh,
We should.
patch
Yes,
verb as well?
we should. And we also should support custom verb, which is not
Mm,
something that's supported today. So custom
yeah,
verb takes this to a whole new level.
yeah. And in terms of the client as well, just thinking loosely now is, do we want to segregate the form data to be
Yes,
on a different position in the client? So your normal REST calls is REST calls, but when you start submitting the form data, which is a little bit different.
it could be like a different orchestration or something.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm okay with that.
I don't know. Not really put much thought to it, but we need to think of all these things before we
We should.
just rewrite.
Not just that, but I want in general to support the capability of submitting non-traditional JSON body, right? Because you're gonna run into this a lot. Like if you're working with Azure Active Directory, and I'll make a YouTube video about this. If you're talking to Azure Active Directory, remember how I tell people you can integrate your Blazor application with Azure Active Directory, but it redirects you to Microsoft's own login page,
Yeah,
right? But if I want, what if I want to make my own page? So I just want the API call to happen. That's my next YouTube video, right? You create a tenant, you create an app inside that tenant, you add users in that tenant, and then you start talking to it with a username and password, right? It's so much easier than trying to build your own users microservice. But I'm going to talk about that part, but because I'd like to have the standard community have its own authority as
yeah.
well. Um, okay, so just going back to the architecture part of this, I think this might be a good start, but we should probably add issues, and anyone in the community is welcome to do that. Add issues to every interface on that IHTTP client, and then support custom verbs,
Yeah,
right? And we can start from there. We can start looking at, what this looks like. We could plan a sprint. I will want to also, Christo, change how people kind of sign up to projects. So we know who's actually actively working on that project and when are they expected to deliver a certain piece.
yeah,
Since I'm going to scale this, so I'm not going to let the stream be the bottleneck for developing a certain feature or capability, right? So we can all run in parallel and we can all develop different features in parallel. Well, if that's the case, which is great, then um, can we get commitments for people? I need to think out loud with you about what does that look like? Who is actually the actual active team that
yeah.
is willing to participate in that particular uh, effort? Okay. Any other thoughts from you about RESTful Sense rewrite?
No, not on top of my head.
Hey, Christo, check this out. Camera's following me. How cool is
Ah,
that?
fancy.
It has like a robotic arm or something. For those wondering, it's called Insta360. It's a pretty cool camera. Um, okay, cool. So just do two different tasks then. Should we create an issue or a form where people kind of say, oh yeah, I'm committed. I'm gonna start working with you guys on this project, or just leave it out in the open like chaos. Just let it out in the open and let someone pick up a task and run with it. At least until we rewrite get file, we're gonna have to have some
Mm,
form of commitment from people. Uh, but other than that, I think we should be good. I think we're at a good place here.
yeah.
All
I
right.
think I think we're good. I think definitely get Brian and Monk to help flesh out the tasks. And I think we need a good diagram of what we've started now, but um, good diagram and good issues with proper description so that anybody have enough detail that wants to pick up can pick up tasks.
Awesome. Awesome. Elbic says, I don't know why his name here is not Elbic. I always wondered. Um, maybe that's his real name, and this all been is maybe he's an agent, and this has been a sham all along. And I actually don't know that guy's name. I mean, is he even from Uzbekistan? That's the real question. Like, so anyway, yeah, Elbic, your community is more than welcome. People are more than welcome to kind of hop in and rewrite RESTful, since it'll be a great experience. If you are working with us actively, then you are, if I know about you, then you are someone that I am going to just give opportunities to whenever they arise to do certain things. RPS says, RPS, that's Ron. I remember that guy. Ron, does it support OData? It should support OData. But Ron, I want to try to do something else even. Please go and look up RESTful link. RESTful link. Um, take a look at it. Tell me what you think about RESTful link. It's pretty wild, and you might like it a lot. The only problem with RESTful link is not it's not a global protocol the same as OData, but let's just see what that means. I think there was another question here about this. Is it talk about OData new progress? I need to revive that project as well. It's been away for a while, but I need to revive the project. I think Paul Wardy and I got really close, and then we kind of, the year ended and we started doing other things. So we'll see if I can revive that effort. Okay, Krista, we have a plan.
Yeah.
Sounds like we have a plan. I don't know. The other thing that I wanted to just make you aware of, these days I'm building a library for resiliency. So if you give your HTTP client to this library, you can define in it the retry amounts, what to do when exceeds a certain amount of failures and all that. Just be aware. This is something I'm playing around with these days. I'm just trying to think about it really deep, but we still need to have a standard practice as to how to retry internally within the system so you can test drive some of these things.
Yeah.
Uh, RPS, yeah, it is Ronald. I will have a look at REST. Yeah, please do. I'm really interested, Ron, to see what you think about RESTful link. For people who don't know, RESTful link basically allows you, if you have an iQueryable, you just type in .to list async and it turns your iQueryable into code that goes to another API. So you don't even know, like all you know about is just C sharp. You don't have to learn about a new protocol to query data. It's very,
Mm.
very cool. It's very, very cool. And I'd like to revive that project. Okay, well, Christo, if you don't have anything else, I guess we're back in the game. See, that camera following thing is going to be tripping people a lot. I should probably disable it. Do you know how I can disable it? I just do my hand like this. Watch, watch. Shoot. Or not. Or maybe. No, it's getting weird. Uh, Supposedly, if I do this, it's supposed to stop, but it's not stopping. So I don't know. Anyway, thank you so much for your time. Thank you, everyone. If you want to hop into an open source project with a super supportive community, this is the place to go. If you've seen any of my previous streams, you're gonna learn a lot. And we don't know all the answers either. So show us your genius and let me know that you exist so I can think about you when things are important and interesting. All right. Ron also say I'll try it. Not sure if I can introduce something in alpha state in my project. Yeah, I understand. Yeah, I fully follow you on that one. I need to kind of I need RESTful link myself for different projects. All right, Christo, thank you for hopping in. I appreciate you, brother.
Thank
Uh,
you.
talk to you later. Thank you everyone for hopping in. Take care.
Thanks.